This is KRok Cast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us. Everybody, we're back for our special KRok Recommends episode this month. Kelly, as always, puts so much time and effort into curating some amazing artists, some that you may already know, but a lot of these artists we feel like maybe you don't know. And these KRok Recommend episodes have been so fun, Kelly, haven't they? Because we hear so much from viewers and listeners that they find these new artists that you introduce to them. And we love hearing the stories of our listeners and viewers following these artists now, starting to listen to their music. We have stories where our viewers or listeners have gone to see these artists live in concert because they heard from us, which is so rewarding, which is why we like to do these recommend episodes. We have two artists that you have curated for us today. Now, the first artist, I will say, to any followers of KRok Cast, any OG followers of KRok Cast, we're talking all the way back, Kelly, to the second deep dive episode of Woosung's 4444 Reborn album. You introduced us to this artist in that section because I can remember saying that I loved this artist's name, and his name is none other than Fat Hamster, which is like the best name ever.
It's fabulous. It makes me, it's just
fabulous.
It makes me laugh so much. Fat Hamster is amazing. It's the best name ever, but honestly, So, Fat Hamster is an electronica artist based in Seoul in South Korea. And he produces some of my favorite electronica music. It is bass heavy electronica, and it's got these really beautiful synth waves all the way through it. So he has this ability to create a sound that is very definitely him. It's not just from the clubs. This has got something extra special from it. And Fat Hamster is Fat Hamster. He doesn't replicate anybody else. So he studied classical and contemporary music at university. So the man knows how to create music. And boy, does he create it well. So this allowed him the ability to sort of work through all sorts of different musical explorations. At one point, he was in an alternative rock band, and, you know, he did that for many years. So you can get there's this alternative sort of vibe underneath it all. So as many of you may or may not know, I have a love of electronica, but mine tends to stem from stuff like the industrial side. There's a slight push of some of that industrial leaning in what he actually does because it's so bass heavy. And he also has this really wonderful way of weaving in different things into the music because he's had this classical training. So he knows how to mix a lead melody in there, and it's so beautiful. And then he gets experimental percussion in on the top. So there's all sorts of weird soundscapes that he'll sort of put in sound designs. And he does just weird things, like he'll do mathematical beats. So we're almost into like math rock territory, which is going to, just confuse the hell out of a lot of you. I'm not even going to even go down there. If anybody ever wants to be confused by the whole idea of math rocks, there is a song by Tool. Hit me up and I will send it you, and it goes on about the Fibonacci code, and that will just blow your mind. It's not quite this level, but there is that sort of underlying unbelievable music nerdiness to this that I absolutely love. I want to see him live so bad. because the
Mm.
videos I've seen of his actual shows look amazing. He's just got such a groove to it, but he's got such a charisma on the stage, and just the audience just looks so engaged and excited by what he does. And I kind of hate to say it, as we've commented before, sometimes the Asian markets can be a little quieter. So to get this sort of like
Mm. Yeah.
euphoria out of an audience gives you an idea about what he's doing and how well he's doing it.
You seen him mostly tour these live shows in the Asian market? Has he come to
Yeah.
Europe or the United States that you're
No,
aware?
not yet. So he tends to do Asia. So he primarily, it tends to be Korea and Japan. He has stepped out of there a little bit. I'm
Mm.
kind of hoping that we might sort of expand a little bit further. And, we might get him over to Europe and America at some point. He's started working with an artist called Kang as well. And they've created this beautiful new music duo, and they're performing live sets literally every week. I mean, it is unreal how many shows that they've been doing. And oh my god, just the power between the two of them is unbelievable. So I don't really know how to explain it. This is all about power and energy, and it's pumped, and it's just, it's fantastic. I love what he does. And with the addition of Kang in there as well, it's just absolutely fantastic. He's formed an independent label as well, so they can release all their own music. So that's called Let's Rats, which is just
That's great.
hilarious. As he's a hamster. I mean, it's just brilliant. He's performed at loads of different festivals. I mean, you can't. Yeah, I mean, literally, he's just performing all the time. So he's performed at Block Party and bits and pieces like that. You may know or may not know that he has quite close ties to 18 Fevers. So there's a couple of tracks that you might know.
We love
Um,
them.
we love 18 Fevers, if you've not gathered already. And yeah, I mean, just the power of that combination is, I think that's why I fell in love, to be perfectly honest. The combination now of him and Kang. So you've got this beautiful bass line and these
Yeah.
beautiful leads, and then you've got Kang who comes in with this quite sort of weird, phasey sort of electronic percussion, and then her really unique vocals. It's something special, and I think you really all ought to check it out, because yeah, Fat Hamster is gonna make a mark somewhere along the line, and it's gonna be a damn good one.
I know. I would love if we could get him to come on the podcast
Yes,
and interview
definitely.
him. I think he would be so interesting to talk to. Yeah, the remix he did of Dance Macabre is fire. That remix is incredible. I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
So
he's
good.
so good.
So
He
good.
really, really is.
All right, so definitely check out his music. We have all of his information linked in the episode description. So take us into your next pick, which this band was someone you mentioned in our season 1 wrap up, if I'm remembering
Yes.
correctly, as one of the top albums that came out in 2025 for you. This is no other than Paledusk. So give us more of an intro into Paledusk.
Paledusk are absolutely bloody wonderful, and I love them. They are completely and utterly bonkers, and I love anything that is bonkers, anything that is unique, and these guys are in bucket loads. They are high energy Japanese progressive metalcore, which sounds ridiculous, but it's the only way to describe them. So they blend metalcore, industrial music, EDM, new metal, hip hop, and it's frantic and it's mad, and they are so good. And finally, they're starting to gain an international following. They are emerging as like the next force in Japanese heavy metal music. I say heavy metal. I mean, I think using the term heavy metal understates them, what they do. There's such a pop tinge to what they do. There's such it's loud, it's aggressive, it's got this push to it, but it doesn't give them their full sort of it doesn't give them a full sort of understanding of who they are as a band. So they have this style which is just them. It's them, every genre you can think of, and the kitchen sink. I mean, it's great. I loved their last album, which literally came out towards the end of last year, called Paledusk, and it had a song on there called "I Love You, Baby," which is basically just them shouting "I love you, baby." It's a punk song, and but it's so full of energy, and it's joyful energy. It's not aggressive energy, and I think that's the nice thing about it, because you sort of throw around all these terms like it's metalcore and it's this and it's that and the other, and everybody's a bit like, oh, well, let me step back. It sounds a bit aggressive. It's not. It's just energy. It's this frantic, happy energy, and that, I think, is one of the reasons I really, really like what they do.
What you're saying, though, is also like, we talked about this a lot throughout the podcast, is this in music today, it's so challenging of how to market yourself and brand yourself in a
Yeah,
genre, because music is just naturally crossing so many different genres.
yeah,
And I feel like that's kind of what you're saying with maybe some of the sound of Pale Dusk. You know, there's a lot of different types of music being blended
yeah,
into creating their sound. And so, you know, you may have this hard metal or metal core as is kind of a common genre to try to categorize them as, but
yeah.
it may not do them enough justice in terms
It
of like
doesn't.
what their
No,
sound is really like.
it does. It doesn't, because I mean, you go from one minute we've got these glitchy guitars, and then the next minute you've got this jazzy piano, when
Mhm.
it's just like, where the hell did the piano come from? It's like somebody just went, do you know what?
Yeah.
I've had this great
Yeah.
idea. We're just going to throw this in. But that's them, and this is what just creates this amazing thing about them, and just they're great. So they've been around since, I think it was about 2014, I want to say. I think is roughly
Mm.
when they kind of started out. Um, so four-piece band. So you've got Kyoto, who's on vocals, Day Day, who's on guitar, you've got Tubusha, who is on guitar, and then you've got Bob, or B-O-B, Bob, on drums, because that's the
Bob.
best name ever, Bob. Anybody who's ever watched Blackadder will know
Bob.
exactly what I mean by Bob. I'd heard things of them before, because obviously sort of like, you know, leaning into the heavier sounds coming out of Japan. But I mean, these guys are quite closely linked as well to KRok, so there's crossover songs with them. They've done some really interesting things that you wouldn't have expected them to do as a band that's kind of not known. So typical Japanese thing, they have an anime tie-in. They did the single Hugs, and that featured on the opening theme for one of the, oh, I can't remember what the name of the actual anime is. If I remember it, I'll do an editor Cal. You know they're going places because they've signed with so many international sort of record labels as well. So they're not just sort of
Mm.
sticking in their niche. They're not frightened. They're going out there. They're going to conquer the world.
Mm.
So they are signed to Grayscale Records in Australia, Avocado Bookings in the UK and Europe, Sharp Tone Records in the US. A list of collaborations is unreal. Day Day did production work on Bring Me the Horizon's Post-Human album. Anybody's heard of that one? Because that's not like it was one of the biggest metal albums out for a very long time. They've also composed for Lil Uzi Vert, and obviously, as I mentioned before, they've collaborated with KRok, and they've also been out on tour with them as well. They've toured with so many big bands that a lot of you might not know. Some of you might know some of these names. So they've toured with Alpha Wolf, Polaris, the Amity Affliction. and they have announced a European tour for next year, which I might just have to sneakily go and pop
Ooh,
along to and see, to be perfectly honest. I can
that's
honestly say,
exciting. European
I know,
tour.
I can honestly say that the best album or the best release for me as a body of work is the album Paledusk, which came out
Mm.
last year because it's got some fantastic tracks on it. EPs, they had Happy Talk in 2020, Pale Hell in 2024. There's War Declaration and Blue Rose as well. So they're also things that are worth checking out. Rumble is another good one. That's got a collaboration on it from one of the members from Cold Rain on there as well, and Slay as well. So that's got another artist featuring on it as well. They're very good at sort of bringing in other artists. But this is a nice thing that I've always said about with the Japanese market. They're not frightened of collaborating with other
Mm.
people. And this is what makes them great. And I think this is also kind of one of the things
Mm.
that is solely missing from the South Korean market because they don't tend to do this. Whereas the Japanese market are just like, hey, I like you, let's work together. And you can see that. And that's how they break down the borders that they do. Paledusk, though, absolutely a brilliant, brilliant band. If you want something on to play in the gym that will lift your mood and make you smile while you're lifting weights, or you're on that Stairmaster to hell, this is the one to listen to.
I love that. All right, we'll have their information linked in the episode description as well. Thank you, Kelly, for your continued hard work to find these great artists and bring them to our viewers and our listeners. So be sure to, if you don't follow KRok Recommends on Instagram, we do have a sister channel to our main KRok Cast Instagram channel. This is also a great opportunity where you can continue to see work from these artists that Kelly kind of curates on the KRok Recommends. Let's also give a plug for the playlist that you've been putting together
Yeah.
in Spotify, Kelly. What's that playlist called in Spotify?
Yep, KRok Cast Loves.
Check out the KRok Cast Loves playlist. I think you have a season 1 playlist of all of these great artists, and now you've started a season 2
Season 2.
playlist, correct? So
Yes,
there's
and
2.
they're both available on our website.
Yeah, so check that out, krockcast.com. You can access those playlists. We'll put those in the episode description for our viewers and listeners as well. All right, see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.